Hey everyone, welcome to the Story Motel, a place where every door hides a different story. From dark confessions and emotional drama to suspense, fiction, mysteries, and plot twists you won't see coming, you'll find all of it here. So if you love stories that pull you in and refuse to let go, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and stick around, because there's always another story waiting behind the next door. And hey, if you've got ideas for future stories, crazy confessions, or plot twists you want to hear next, leave them down in the comments. I read everything. Now, let's begin. I made a mistake marrying my husband, and the worst part is he's actually a good guy. That's the part nobody understands. Ethan doesn't cheat on me, he doesn't hit me, he pays most of the bills, he's usually respectful. From the outside, our marriage probably looks stable, but living with him feels like slowly disappearing. We got married insanely young. He proposed during my senior year of high school, after only a few months together. I was barely 17. By 18, we were married. At the time, it felt romantic, like one of those when you know stories. Now it feels like I agreed to a life I never actually wanted. The thing is, I never even liked him that much in the beginning. That sounds horrible to admit, but it's true. I turned him down for years before we dated because we had absolutely nothing in common. He liked gaming and routines. I liked art and traveling and books. But Ethan was persistent, really persistent. And eventually, I confused persistence with love. Now I'm 23, and I feel trapped inside a life that doesn't even feel like mine anymore. Every little thing he does irritates me. The way he chews, the way he talks too loud, the way he breathes when he sleeps. And I know how awful that sounds, but when resentment builds slowly for years, even tiny things start feeling unbearable. Most days, Ethan comes home from work, sits at his computer, plays games for hours, eats dinner, and goes to sleep. That's his life. And somehow, I became responsible for everything else. The cleaning, the cooking, the dogs, the emotional labor, all of it. And if I ask for help, he acts confused. A few months ago, I asked him to help clean the kitchen. That's it, just help. Instead, he wiped one section of the counter, left crumbs everywhere else, and genuinely looked proud of himself. When I pointed out the mess, he sighed like I was attacking him. That's what kills me, not cruelty, just complete indifference. We've had the same conversation at least 50 times. I tell him I'm overwhelmed, he apologizes, he changes for maybe 2 weeks, then everything goes back to normal, again, and again, and again. I started feeling less like a wife and more like somebody's exhausted mother. The worst part? I don't think he even realizes he's doing it. One night, I got dressed up for the first time in months. I curled my hair, did my makeup, put on this dark green dress I used to love. I walked into the living room hoping maybe he'd notice me, really notice me. He looked up from his computer for maybe 2 seconds and said, "You look nice," then went right back to his game. That almost hurt more than if he'd ignored me completely, because I realized he thought that was enough. I asked if he wanted to go out for dinner. He said, "I can't. My team's counting on me tonight." His team. A bunch of strangers online mattered more than his wife sitting right in front of him begging for connection. That was the moment something inside me started dying. Not loudly, quietly, like a light slowly flickering out. People think relationships end because of cheating or screaming or huge betrayals. Sometimes they end because one person feels invisible for too long. That's what happened to me. I stopped painting, stopped dressing up, stopped going outside much. I stopped feeling like a person. We moved constantly for Ethan's career, so I never kept friends for long. Every time I got comfortable somewhere, we packed up and left again. I had nobody, no family, no close friends, no support system. And financially, I couldn't even afford to leave. That's what terrified me most. I remember sitting on the bathroom floor one night realizing I literally couldn't survive on my own. Yet, I felt trapped. And then there was our intimate life. Honestly, it always felt empty. Even from the beginning, we barely did anything together emotionally, and physically it felt like another task I had to complete. He never really noticed me, not fully, not in the ways that mattered. And eventually, I realized something horrible. I didn't hate Ethan. I just didn't love him anymore. Not romantically, not deeply, not the way a wife should love her husband. And once I admitted that to myself, I couldn't unfeel it. We had another argument over chores one afternoon. Shocking, I know. I asked him to fold laundry while I was working. Later that night, I found the clean socks still sitting exactly where I left them, and something about that absolutely broke me. Not because of the socks, because it represented everything. The unfinished effort, the broken promises, the assumption that eventually I'd handle it myself. I stood there staring at a pile of socks, feeling like my entire marriage suddenly made sense. That's when I realized I couldn't do this forever. So I stopped fighting, stopped begging, stopped asking for flowers, stopped asking for dates, stopped asking him to care. And weirdly, Ethan seemed happier after that, because to him, the relationship was finally peaceful. Meanwhile, I quietly started planning my escape. I picked up extra hours at work, started saving money secretly, cut back on spending. Every dollar I saved felt like another breath of air entering my lungs. For the first time in years, I felt hope. Tiny at first, but real. The day I realized I finally had enough money to leave, I cried in my car for almost 20 minutes. Not because I was sad, because I finally had a choice. That night, I sat Ethan down and told him the truth. No screaming, no drama, no giant explosion, just honesty. I told him I loved him, but I wasn't in love with him anymore. I told him I felt invisible in our marriage. I told him I didn't know who I was anymore. He just sat there quietly, almost confused, like he genuinely never saw this coming. And honestly, that hurt too, because it meant he hadn't really been listening all these years. When I packed my things, he kept asking, "Are you seriously leaving?" Like the idea seemed impossible to him. But I was done. Done shrinking myself, done begging for the bare minimum, done building my entire life around someone who barely noticed I was drowning. I took the animals, packed my clothes, and walked out. And for the first time in years, I could breathe again. I'm still scared sometimes, still lonely sometimes, but I finally feel alive. I made a mistake marrying Ethan, but I'm not making the mistake of staying. I'm choosing myself now. And honestly, that saved my life.